It's super special. There's, I think, 3 million people line the streets and they cheer you on. You feel like a Olympian. You know, it's the closest that I'll ever get to being an Olympian, you know, where people are really cheering. And they're not just standing there like this. They're actually really, really cheering and really going, and they're screaming and yelling, and you just feel like a superhero. So you basically get to float down the street, you know, through them. You don't feel like you're running because you're so entertained by everything around them.
This is Legends with Bevo, thanks to Bet Odyssey, Renelec Electrical Services, and Anytime Fitness Glenelg. And now, here's your host, Bevo.
Well, Anna Liptak, welcome to Legends with Bevo on the couch for the very first time. How good is this?
It's great, very comfortable. Thanks for having me, Bevan.
It's great to have you on again. I better give a shout out to one of our new sponsors as well, Bet Odyssey. Bet Odyssey, you can find out more about them by going to betodyssey.com. Now, let's talk about your documentary, I'm Not a Runner. It's going gangbusters around the world. It's happening in Adelaide at the moment, which is super exciting. Tell us about the documentary and the story behind it, Anna.
Okay, so I'm Not a Runner. Well, it's been in progress for 4 years now. It's based on the stories of 5 women who've basically gone from the couch, literally, to running the biggest marathon in the world, which is the New York Marathon. So in it, we track their progress and we go through their obstacles and challenges and mental health challenges, private life challenges such as husbands, divorces, jobs, etc. And we witness their transformation, I guess, right through their journey of getting to a marathon. It's been longer than a marathon, I guess, to get to the end, and we were up against a lot there because we had amateur cast, we had amateur filmmakers, but we had a lot of love and we had a lot of motivation and a lot of determination, and we've had a lot of people come in and help us, a lot of experts. I first started it with James Wakelin 4 years ago. I went to him with the idea of showcasing ordinary people achieving wondrous things, and that's really what I wanted to portray. I've been a fitness trainer now for over 15 years, and in that time I've trained thousands of people to attain goals that they didn't think possible, and I've taken people all over the world to run and participate in events that they never dreamed possible. And I thought, wouldn't it be good to showcase ordinary people? I mean, we hear a lot about elite people, and I never want to take away from them because they do obviously work very hard, and they achieve wondrous things. But the ordinary person can achieve wondrous things too, and I think it's really important for people to know whatever starting line they start from, you can get to a goal if you have a start line and a finishing line that you can progress towards. So the women in it have been very generous in sharing their stories. We've got one lady who's an Aboriginal woman. I guess she was housebound with 3 children, full of anxiety, didn't really want to participate in society. She was very scared of coming out to exercise. And she did, and she transformed her life, and now she's working with Aboriginal women to get them to work with their children, working with their children. So she's loving that, and that's transformed her. So that's Namara Lee Braun. We have Marika Jacob, who is a divorcee who has 5 children. When her husband left her, she had nothing. She had $700 a week and she had to send 5 kids to school. So she transforms her life through exercise, and what becomes of her is that she then puts herself through the training of being a police officer, and she becomes a policewoman, and very proudly through exercise, and attains her goals in many ways. So then another character is my mum, she was 73 in the movie, and she sets out to run a marathon. So, you know, I'm not 73, but I know how hard it is at 47, so I can only imagine how hard it is at 73. But what she does show is that anything's possible. She had cancer in 2014, and I know for myself I've lost trust in my body through certain things that I've gone through. So I can only imagine what loss that she had of her trust of her body through cancer. But not only cancer, being 73, I'm sure that you have aches and pains that I haven't experienced yet, and I'm not looking forward to those experiences. Yeah. I'm hoping they're a while away, but you know, so you do watch the journey of Margaret and how she undertakes that journey, and she underplays what she achieved. She says, "Oh, it's nothing," but I say to her now, "Would you be able to do that now?" And she says, "No, I wouldn't." So it's all about, I guess, the other thing, seizing opportunity when you have an opportunity, because the world can change very quickly, just like that. As you and I know, lives change, and it really does show that, you've got to do things while you can, because before you know it, you won't be able to. So if you can and you have opportunities to do it.
That's so cool. Can't wait to see the documentary. Now, also in terms of your mum, 73, that's just unbelievable, the fact that she's run a marathon, and makes me feel pretty bad at 41. I haven't ever done one myself, but and I call myself a runner as well, Anna. How did she actually do it, and what sort of training was involved to be able to finish a marathon at that age is just unbelievable.
So she would first of all say to you, "I'm not a runner," hence the movie's called "I'm Not a Runner." But she did it in her own way. So I trained with her, so I actually did the marathon with her. And what we set out to do is we ran 200 metres and then we walked 800. So she did that, and we trained that way. So she did 12 months of training with the rest of the group. So we had 80 people go over to the New York Marathon that year, and we all trained together. So I guess that's the other thing, is having a group or someone that you're accountable to and you can have fun with along the way. So it was taking it slowly, listening to the body, like anyone should, and not going too far or too fast too soon. So it was a big deal to get her to the starting line. So that was probably our biggest obstacle mission, was to get her to the starting line, and we did. And you'll have to watch the movie to see if she completes it.
Yeah, can't wait. And for people that are watching or listening today, Anna, how can they sort of get along to check out the movie? How can they find out more about it?
Sure. So we've got the premiere happening on the 19th of September. We've got 3 shows which are sold out, which is fabulous, and we've got so much support. So I'm really thankful for that support in Adelaide. So we've had to put on another 3 shows, one on the 26th of September, Sunday the 26th of September, Wednesday the 29th, and Thursday the 30th. So they can get on Try Booking, and under I'm Not a Runner, look that up and get on for those 3 sessions, which are selling really quite quickly too.
Wonderful. Credit to you for that. Now, I've also heard from a little birdie that you've got some amazing people around the world that have been giving you some acknowledgements, and not just like everyday sort of people that are celebrities that have been to the Olympics and worldwide celebrities. So I'm just going to start with our very own Jess Trengove, Olympic marathon runner and Commonwealth bronze medalist, of course, and she's been one of my guests on Legends of Bevo. She's a wonderful lady, Jess. Now, this is what she said based on I'm Not a Runner. Be prepared to ride the emotional highs, lows, and everything in between with these inspirational people who I hope now proudly refer themselves as runners. What's it mean to hear from Jess saying that sort of thing about your documentary? That
was pretty emotional to hear that from Jess. She's such a community-based person, and she also is very encouraging of the everyday person. So, to hear that from her is pretty special, and I can see her passion for getting the community moving. So, she's definitely not just about the elite. She's just about encouraging everybody. So, yeah, that's pretty special.
Speaking of special, one of the best broadcasters in Australia, the daughter of the great Tim Lane, of course, who has been commentating sport for a number of years, and that is sports broadcaster Sam Lane. She's also an author as well, and she's watched your film and said she loved it. She said it's a tour de force, honest and inspirational. Pretty good words from someone so special as well there, Anna.
Yeah, it is. I'm floored, really. So it's really, really great to have these testimonials and to back up a project that we feel so fondly about.
And this is another great one, this time overseas. So just when I mentioned before how it's going gangbusters around the world, it's reaching overseas as well in America. Kelly Roberts, who's the founder of Badass Lady Gang, she said it's absolutely beautiful, loved every minute. It doesn't matter if you love running, love or hate running, or you think you hate running. It's a mouthful. I'm Not a Runner will remind you that anything is possible when you just put one foot in front of the other. I just loved it. What a beautiful film. Pretty amazing again from someone, 220,000 followers worldwide. That's, again, pretty amazing accolade from Kelly Roberts.
Yeah, and she's very influential over women, and exactly the same sort of women that we're capturing in this movie is just everyday women. It's not false. It's not, it's very just ordinary people achieving great things and encouraging each other. And there's no falseness about it. It's just what we are. So Kelly Roberts, yes, she's super special to have that comment from.
And one more as well, Emma Race. She's a producer and host of the groundbreaking Outer Sanctum podcast. Her words about I'm Not a Runner. This is a powerful story of humble heroes challenging themselves to defy the world's expectations of them, one step at a time. I'm Not a Runner truly inspired me, moved me to tears, and made me feel seen. This is a superhero film. Wow, I've been waiting for. That's pretty amazing from Emma as well.
Yeah, that's really special. And Emma is lifting us up with what she's talking about here, but she's also really blown away by Johnny Taranto, who is the director of the movie. And he came in and against all odds with what we were fighting against, which is we had so much footage, amateur cast. We had so many different storylines. He had to find a storyline. But not only that, he had many women telling him he couldn't do a story about women because it's not really about running. It's a story about women and the challenges that they face. And Emma did accolade Johnny too and say, you know, it's incredible that a man could show and be so sensitive to women's issues. And he has treated it so beautifully and respected all the cast so enormously. So he's been absolutely fantastic.
Can't wait to check it out, Anna. In terms of your running, now you grew up in a family of real sports lovers. Your brother Matt, of course, was a superstar with the Crows and going on to do bigger and better things now as a surgeon, which he's doing an amazing job of. And we spoke before about your mum, 73, and did a marathon a couple of years ago. Your sons are playing basketball, so you've just got sport all over your family.
Yes.
Your passion for running, though, when did it come about? And, you know, what is it about running that you love so much that's made you go on to do 28 marathons?
Well, I have come from a family of sports people. So, you know, I had a brother, and my other brother was an Australian runner, and my other one was an Australian kayaker. So it was heavily around me, but they were all very much in that elite. I guess I loved all sports when I was younger. So I loved running, I loved netball, I loved basketball. So I didn't specialise in anything in particular, which has probably gone on to be my saving grace, which I've been able to do running for longer now. And I, as I said, have been a fitness trainer now for 15 years. And I guess my passion in it is the cardio aspect. I intermingle cross-training, and I've been working with people every morning. So, you know, I'm up at 4:30 every morning training and running with people. But my passion for running probably started when some of my participants started saying they wanted to go into events. And so that was probably about 2007. We did the City to Bay and then went on to do Vanuatu around Island Relay. And then we challenged ourselves and did the Trailblazers, which is the 56K events, and then thought, could we do marathons? And then we did Melbourne Marathon. Then we thought, let's go and do Great Wall of China Marathon. Then we did New York, and then I qualified for Boston. So it just, you know, kept edging on, and it's just continued. And for me, I guess running is something that moves forward, and it's not necessarily about winning, because I certainly don't win, but I certainly feel like I'm achieving things, but I can also move forward through life, being fit and healthy, being a role model for my children. And so I guess I've been motivated by the people that I train, and as well as me training them. So it's been a win-win relationship. So they've edged me on to keep on going because they all want to keep participating in different events too. So I guess the running is something that I can do. I can do it quite easily. I can just put on my shoes and get out that door.
4:30 in the morning, I don't know how you do that. So.
I know, I'm nearly asleep.
That's unbelievable. Well done. And in terms of your marathons, 28, as mentioned, you've done before. We'll speak about your coronavirus battle in a moment, because you've done amazing things since obviously dealing with the coronavirus last year. But of the 28, though, which one was your favourite and why?
Well, I have to say New York is definitely one of the most special ones. I've done that 4 times and taken 4 different groups there. And this is the one that I'm Not a Runner is based around too, because it's super special. There's, I think, 3 million people line the streets and they cheer you on. You feel like a Olympian. You know, it's the closest that I'll ever get to be an Olympian, you know, where people are really cheering. And they're not just standing there like this. They're actually really, really cheering and really going, and they're screaming and yelling, and you just feel like a superhero. So you basically get to float down the street, you know, through them. You don't feel like you're running because you're so entertained by everything around them. I guess the other really special one to me is one that I had to qualify for, which was Boston Marathon. So that's quite prestigious, I guess, from an amateur runner, you know, getting the time to get in. was super special for me. And it was a time where I didn't have much money, so I really had to raise a lot of money myself by selling clothes at the markets and stuff and try and get there. So that was super special, and I guess it's etched in my mind now because it ended quite suddenly because that was the Boston bombings that year. So that was super special. I got to finish it. It did end sadly, but we came back safely. But, the whole legacy behind Boston is very sad for those people that lost their lives and all, the other people who got injured and things. So there's I guess it's America, make it very special in lots of ways. Then there's the Great Wall of China. Well, that's very unique.
Yeah.
And one that I don't know if I could do again because it was very, very difficult. In fact, I think I said it was harder than giving birth, and giving birth wasn't that easy. So one of the guys heard me when I ran over the finishing line. He's like, I heard that.
I'm very happy to be a guy in that situation, that's for sure. You women are amazing when you do that. And in terms of the Boston Marathon, you mentioned it before, so tragic. Being there and then seeing what had happened, knowing that you'd actually been in that exact environment, Anna, when all that tragedy took place with the terrorism attack and everything, what was that feeling like, knowing that, I guess people lost their lives and you were actually there?
It was like you're in a movie, really, after that. It was very unreal. We got locked in a hotel and all you could hear was the sirens. We were very near to the finishing line, probably about 1 kilometre away. So it just brought home to me once again is how short life can be. So you've once again, you got to seize life while you have it. I think I'm going through the midlife crisis of 47 now, the knowing that how life goes so quickly that if you don't take these opportunities, and if I didn't take that back then, I possibly would never have qualified again. So, you only get these chances so often in your life. Yes, it was a tragedy, but what I did learn out of it, you can't stop your life living in fear.
That is a really good quote. I love that. And you're right, because, life does throw all sorts of challenges. We've both been through them. We've spoken about many times off air. But you just got to just keep pushing on. And like you said, people are scared of sharks. They won't go in the water, or they won't do the Boston Marathon because they're afraid of terrorism and this sort of thing. But that means the terrorists win. So the best way to do it is just keep pushing on and live your life to the fullest. I mean, not that I'm going to go to Afghanistan tomorrow or anything like that, but within reason. But I think that's a really good way of looking at life, though. Just if you want to do something, do it. And if you think you can do a marathon, then what's stopping you? So
you only get one chance, don't you?
Exactly. No, that's great. And you're another one who can speak about going through really tough times and getting over the other side. Because last year you were one of the first ones in Australia to get the coronavirus, sadly. And give us an understanding, Anna, of sort of how you got the virus and how you dealt with it to begin with, and sort of what symptoms did you have that sort of made you feel like made you realise that you might have a coronavirus, and I guess how it's affected you from there.
So I was over at the documentary conference for I'm Not a Runner. We'd taken over to Melbourne to the Australian International Documentary Conference. And at that time, it was March, and COVID wasn't really being talked about in Australia yet. It was still something that was happening in China, and it wasn't. It's kind of like that SARS, we went to Africa, it didn't come any further. So we didn't think anything of it. And in fact, no one warned us. No one said don't travel. There was no travel restrictions. There was no masks. There was no anything at the time. It was just normal. What is normal? Yeah. But it was normal pre-COVID. I did get a very severe headache when I was over in Melbourne, like a really severe headache. But I didn't think too much of it. I just thought I was really tired and run down. And I did try and go for a run one morning, and I didn't feel well, and I had to stop that run. But I just thought I was just tired. Anyway, we came home, and then it escalated, and I really got quite sick. And I booked into the doctors on the Friday. I don't go to the doctors very often because I don't generally get sick. In 15 years I've worked for myself, I haven't really taken a sick day, but I knew I was sick. And the doctor said I had sinusitis and to go home. But I was the first person to come in, and they said, do you have this symptom, and this symptom? And I said, well, yeah, I do. And they said, well, do you mind having a mask, and do you mind going into that room? And they were kind of laughing. It was a room away, a quarantine room. And we were kind of laughing, thinking, this is really silly, but yeah, I'll go in there. The doctor came in and said, don't worry about the mask. And anyway, so I went home with sinusitis. I knew I didn't have sinusitis because I've never had sinusitis, and I didn't even bother getting the medication. Anyway, I was sick for the whole weekend. It went on. I was really sick. It was a public holiday on the Monday. I couldn't get off the couch, sick. I tried to take a training session and I stood back from everyone, luckily, because at that stage I actually thought in my back of my head, I reckon I might have COVID. Probably after this, went back to get tested. They wouldn't test me because I hadn't been overseas. So it went on and on. 4 times I tried to get tested. By that stage, I was like, my mum was saying, I'll drive you to the hospital. I said, we can't drive me to the hospital because if I've got COVID. And that she was like, well, you have to go on the taxi. Because I was like literally like really like I could hardly get off the couch. Like I said, I can't go in a taxi. If I've got COVID, I can't go in a taxi. So I had to keep driving myself to these appointments. And I got to the hospital on the last one and I said, I can't even drive into that car park. I have to park here, which is where they were lining up. And luckily I had a really nice car park attendant. She said, okay. So I got out of the car. It was like 40 degrees, lined up in this line it must have been like for an hour or 2 hours. And I was lying literally across the gutter, got to the front of the line. They said, no, you haven't been overseas. I said, you're joking. I'm not, no, I can't even see my doctor because I've got these symptoms, but you can't test me because I haven't been overseas. So who's going to treat me? Like I can't go anywhere. I was so frustrated. And they said, oh, well, you can line up for another 2 hours if you want to get the test. And I said, I was just like, I've got to go. Like I just didn't know what to do. And then my husband texted me and said, the repat's opening tomorrow if you want to go through the drive-through. So I rang the doctor and said, book me in for the repat. I'll go tomorrow. And so I went to the repat, yes, had COVID, straight to hospital, double pneumonia, classic COVID, very sick. Everyone's dressed in their garb, extremely scary, entered this whole different world going into the infectious disease. They had to basically get rid of everybody off the floor for me to get into the hospital. And then all of a sudden I realised the enormity of what I had, but it had been so frustrating in that lead up.
Yeah.
And then it was really scary because then, of course, I'm locked in a room. I can't see my kids. Have I infected anyone? Have I infected my mum? That was the biggest thing. Who have we infected at school? Is there anyone that's going to die from this? Because all I'm watching on the images on television of everyone dying and, it's spreading. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how many people am I going to kill? Because I'm obviously one of the first ones here in South Australia. So it's straight back to you. So I wasn't really concerned about myself at that time. I was more concerned about everybody else. So it was a pretty tumultuous, is that a word?
Yes.
Time.
Yeah.
And very scary. And, I think, and I was still trying to protect my kids and tell them I was okay. My husband's obviously, it was just not a great experience, but I'm here to tell my story so that it all ended up fine. I still deal with it on a day-to-day basis, whether it's psychosomatic but I still feel it in my lungs when I run. So I've continued to run and I can still exercise. I do get chronic fatigue and occasional different other symptoms that pop up where I go, I wonder if this is attributed to COVID. But, I'm not making it my story. My story is that I'm fit and healthy and I can run.
What an attitude. I love it. I love how positive you are considering what you've been through. And speaking of running, I mentioned it before, you actually finished your 28th marathon after you had coronavirus. How the heck did you do that, Anna? That's just unbelievable.
I wanted to prove to myself that I was okay. And I wanted to prove that I could still do it. And half of it's a mental game, but I had lots of supporters. So a lot of the people I trained came out on the street. We did the Adelaide City Grid, and it was just beautiful. It was a really wonderful way to do it. So we did the west to east to west, and then we did north to south and ended up in Rundle Mall. And that's 42.2 kilometres. So it was beautiful. And so many people came out to support me. And really it was on the day of the New York Marathon, which was pretty special to me because I was supposed to be taking 150. I have another business called Adventure Time Travel, which takes people to the New York Marathon. And of course that got decimated that year too. So while I was in hospital dealing with corona, I also had 150 people ringing me about, are we going to New York? And why aren't we going to New York? And they were pretty angry about the whole thing. And so dealing with that, so I really wanted to support New York because they had to cancel the marathon, and obviously they were pretty badly affected over in America at that time. So I wanted to let them know that here in Australia we were with them and we were all together in the world, because New York Marathon is about the world being together. So I just wanted to let the world know in my own small little way that I could, small little person that I am, but to know that we were supporting them and we were together.
And you touched on it before, adventure, time travel. possibility of going over there next year to America to do the New York Marathon. Fingers crossed that if COVID situation's all right.
Yes, well, we're gearing up for it, so we're taking registrations of interest now because that fills really quickly, being the biggest marathon in the world. So we've got a waiting list on that, and we really believe, let's hope everyone gets vaccinated and we can all open up and we can all start returning to travel, because I think that will be a beauty next year when the whole world gets together. That will be pretty emotional, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people crying through that marathon because it will be pretty special.
Yeah, I think it might be one big party as well.
Yeah, it'll be a huge party.
Yeah, and His and Her Time, that's another one of your businesses.
Yes.
Tell us about that one, how people can get involved in that.
So His and Her Time, I guess a boutique business because it's only down in the Holdfast Council area, and I've been doing that for 15 years. And that's an outdoor fitness program, and it's for people of all ages, shapes, sizes. We do a combination of cardio and strength training, and we do it all outdoors because outdoors is the best in every which way, particularly for mental health and for fresh air, and to just get outside and do something during the day to make yourself feel really good. So, that's my little baby.
And people can get involved in that by going on your website, annaliptak.com.au.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. And once again, we'll give it a final plug. I'm Not a Runner, the documentary. Screenings are available in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye on your website to find out more about that. And trybooking.com.au you said as well?
Yeah, TryBooking is where they can get the tickets from. I've got a subscription program that will be starting up in the next couple of weeks, and people can, and that's a subscription program for anyone wanting to start off running for 5Ks, 10Ks, 21Ks or 42Ks. So that will be an online program. People can find out all the information for that on annaliptak.com, as you said.
Wonderful. And finally, before I let you go, I always like to do something a bit of fun, Anna. Throw people under the bus a bit.
What are you going to do, cartwheels or something?
3 famous people that you'd love to have dinner with, alive or dead, who would they be and why?
3 famous people. Oh, there's lots, isn't there?
There is. That's why it's so good.
It's interesting, isn't it? Famous people to me can also be ordinary people. And, I'd love to have my dad's mum back. I'd love to have a conversation with her. She's not anyone famous, but I'd love to be able to talk to her again. Bevan, this is a hard one. I'm going into politics and all sorts of things. So, okay. I really have to think about that one.
It stops everyone all the time. It's the best part about it. Is there like a famous movie star you think he's a bit of a hunk, or sports person? Like, obviously not AFL because Matt played AFL, so that'd be a bit weird. Olympian like Paddy Mills or something like that.
He's alive.
He can still be alive. alive or dead. So yeah, I'm Not a Runner. The documentary. Can't wait to check it out on Sunday. And for anyone else that's listening or watching today, get involved in trybooking.com to get yourself a ticket for that.
I know you're coming.
I cannot wait.
Thank you.
And
yes.
I really hope it continues to go well and gets around the world and gets the publicity that it deserves, because, and if there's anyone out here that's watching or listening today that want to get behind the documentary, Anna is looking for sponsors as well. So, it could be a Joggers World, or it doesn't have to necessarily be a runner. It could be like Rebel Sports. It could be anyone really want to get involved, hey, as well.
Yeah, and even women's groups, or it's very women-based. And, it is going to New York. The New York Roadrunners are behind it. They will be sending it out to 300,000 people around the world. It is going to the Cannes Festival in October. So amazing. We think it's actually got a bigger market overseas than it does here. Probably it will be really big overseas and then come back to Australia. So who knows where it will go, but it's out into the ether this week, so we're really excited.
How good is that? And that's why I find it hard that there's no partners out there that don't want to get behind this, because you could get worldwide publicity.
Well, that's what we really are. We're looking at the end goal is a streamer, but we do have really big support from overseas, and particularly from New York Roadrunners. Being able to send that out to 300,000 people across the world is
so good,
pretty special. So we're very thankful for all the support that we have got.
So well deserved, because you're an amazing lady, Anna. You've been through so much. You do incredible things, and I just love your dedication. And you're such an inspirational person, because you've gone through coronavirus, which no one wants to go through, but you've just not let it get to you. And you're like, no, I'm not going to let this bastard of a disease stop me from doing a marathon. And I just think it's such a credit to you. So well done. You deserve everything that comes your way with I'm Not a Runner, and going forward, I look forward to more chats when you're a worldwide superstar down the track.
No. Just an ordinary person, that's what I am, but thanks, Bevan.